etc., 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 blah, blah, blah. Test words, test words. Ah. Hello, everyone. Hopefully that's working. If it's not, then I'm going to be a little bit mad. But welcome into the stream. Welcome. We've got a lot to talk about today. Sorry I was a little bit late, as I've just explained in the chat a moment ago. Various kitchen things are going on, which is fun. But we've got some more news to discuss, specifically surrounding Leeds United. Because it's been an absolutely wild day, and I'm going to go through it step by step to sort of discuss where we are, where we're heading, and what's going on. Are we live? We are live indeed. So, where we are isn't where I'm going to start. I'm going to start with what led us here, and it's going to start with the Buonanotte stuff. Because the last time I was live, or did a video, or whatever you want to call it, because a lot of people have different terminology for these things. The last time I was doing stuff, there was a little bit of a question around whether or not we would sign Facundo Buonanotte. It looked borderline done, which was quite nice. It looked like we were sort of waiting for a flight. Logistics didn't work out. Next time, we'll see how it goes in the morning. And then, this morning we had a little bit of a twist in the tale, in which we learned that Blueco, the Chelsea and Strasbourg, etc. group, had hopped in and decided to hijack the deal and said, actually, no, Facundo Buonanotte, you're going to come to us on loan. Now, I've got many problems with this, right? This isn't just a sort of biased Leedsy perspective kind of situation. This is a fundamentally, on like a deep down level, I am annoyed at this because of a few reasons. Reason number one is that after his move, Leeds United won't benefit. Obviously, that's my side of it, being sort of having a bias. Point number two, Chelsea don't really benefit from it because they're having to pay a 13th, that's it, 13th senior attacker who will get very few minutes. And on that note, Buonanotte will get about 20 minutes all season, so he doesn't benefit by developing. And Brighton, who specifically wanted to loan him to somewhere in the Premier League in order to like sort of get that deal done, Brighton also don't get that much development because, again, their player is only going to get about 20 minutes of football all season. Because if you consider him a 10, he's sat behind Cole Palmer. Obviously, he's not going to be starting games there. On the right wing, he's sat behind Estevo, he's sat behind Pedro Neto. Which Gibbon in the Blueco boardroom was like, actually, yeah, what we need is another attacking footballer? I don't know. I did see a message where someone was like, I've got a little bit of a conspiracy theory here. Do you think Chelsea are just signing all of the players that like lower in the table clubs are looking at just to make sure that they're in even worse situations than Chelsea are? Like, there's no way that Chelsea get relegated if they sign every single target from someone that's potentially getting relegated. Maybe that's the way that Chelsea are doing it. You never know. But as the day went on, that eventually meant that Leeds United weren't likely going to sign Facundo Buonanotte anymore. And it developed and developed, and as time went on, it turned from Fabrizio Romano going, there's a little bit of an interest from Blueco, to Fabrizio Romano going, yeah, it's 100% done. So in that instance, Buonanotte not coming to Leeds United, which is a massive pain in the arse, because he is a very good right winger that we need. He's a very good 10 that we need. And now he's neither. And now he's not going to be playing any football all season because reasons. And it feels hilariously stupid. He also doesn't have to move. That is a pretty damn good thought, which is just nuts. But sod it. If he wants to move and if he wants to try and get some football, that's up to him. So stupid. So stupid. Also, Arsenal have signed another defender, which is giving me a bit of a headache because why do they keep signing defenders? Anyway, we have a couple of other players that we are looking at as alternatives that we've been increasingly linked with over the last few hours. One of whom is Mr. Gustavo Hamer, who plays currently at Sheffield United, who we know a little bit about because he has been sort of in and around the periphery of Leeds United for a little bit of a while. Ended up not getting promoted last season, which I think was very, very funny. But I think there's a little bit of a chat to have around Hamer and about my perspectives on Gus Hamer up to and including this point, because up until now, when it comes to Gus Hamer, I've been fairly opposed to us potentially signing him. I don't know whether it is the fact that Hamer is a Sheffield United player, whether it's me seeing him on the wrong days that leads to him being relatively injured on those days, or whether it's just sort of like his general demeanour that I don't particularly like. But I've not fancied Gus Hamer in the past. But now, I'm in a situation where I kind of need to fancy Gus Hamer. Because the ongoing bits of news at the moment are that Leeds United this season will do a loan to buy on Gus Hamer for 15 to 20 million euros. Now, I'm going to sort of approach this with a different perspective to the one that Joe Wainman did. Joe's belief was that we are low on cash. That is not personally my belief. My belief is that, as a general rule, a loan to buy will always make more sense for a selling club, because if you loan them out, they've got a year less left on their contract at the end of the deal, which means that their sort of book value is lower, which means that they're making more of a PSR profit, which puts them in a better situation, because in the Championship PSR is a nightmare, and it puts us in the same situation as any other case, because we will have ended up signing the player. And it fits in with the theory that we had something like 150 million at the start of the window, because that money hasn't just vanished into thin air. You just pay it at a different time, and it looks better from an accounting perspective. It's not a case of saving money or anything like that. Thank you for subscribing, by the way, Albino64. What a username. But that's the sort of gist behind it. But I'm having to persuade myself to like Gus Hamer. So, in order to do so, I'm going to change him to, on FBref, being purely a midfielder. He's not considered an attacking midfielder anymore, and look at all those green lines when you do it this way. Non-penalty goals per 90, 1 every 5 games. That's not too bad, top 5%. Shots per 90, top 2%. That's not too bad. Assists, top 12%, but expected assists, top 2. Fantastic. Goals and assists per 90, combined expected, top 1%. Absolutely delicious. In terms of attacking stuff, he's a very direct kind of guy. He's going to put opposing sides under a lot of pressure, which is kind of what we need right now. We need someone that is going to convert those defensive situations like we had against Arsenal into the more attacking ones, which would be very nice, to be honest with you. It puts us in the best situations possible, and it means that things are a little bit less spooky for us. The 15 to 20 million sort of price tag is roughly what people probably expected. I've got to be honest with you, 18 yellow cards. Why did you see 18 yellow cards? Last season he got 13. That's not 18. But whilst a lot of people have looked at Hamer and said, oh my god, we're signing a number 10. No, this is where we've got to do a little bit of correcting. Because as has been mentioned by Andrew over here, he's not a 10, he's an 8 that plays in that more progressive role. Which is something that I think a lot of people miss out on. And is something that we need to not miss out on, and we need to learn a little bit more of. Very underwhelming signing. We need a right winger and a striker. I don't think so. If we're signing 2, for me, it's a right winger and a sort of progressive attacking midfielder, which Hamer fits into. If we're signing 1, it's a right winger. The striker for me only comes in if we're looking at a third, because I think we've got options at the top of the pitch. We've got a good few. Did I see Campbell references a similar player? I don't know. I didn't actually look at that. Because I never look at similar player, because it never seems to be sane. But I'll have a look. Marcel Hartel, what a name that is. Georgi Mihailovic, you did see Cantwell. Scott Twine, Mateus Pereira, Jose Paradella, Alexei Miranchuk, he's quite good. Rodrigo Garo, Jakob Brum, and Domenico Berardi, which isn't a bad list. But, yeah. If Hamer comes in, I'm tricking myself into thinking that it's the move that I always wanted. And if not, and that's fine. It'll be okay. Oh, that's devastating. Simicastle's gone to Roma. The dream is dead. The recovery dream is gone. It's never going to happen. That's fine. We get used to it. And then also, we need to talk a little bit about Bilal El Khannouss, because we've also been linked with Bilal El Khannouss over the last day or so. And I'm just quickly trying to find the tweet that I was sent to show it off. Bosh. There we go. Right, if I zoom in here. So a couple of weeks ago, Fossey Hub had from one of their sources that James Justin was very, very, very close to a move to Leeds United. That then happened within the next couple of days. Then, we've had the same source saying that Leeds United are the front runners for Bilal El Khannouss. Now, this is where things get a little bit complicated, because what I had heard around the James Justin move was the fact that James Justin's signing by Leeds United had effectively fixed the PSR problems that Leicester had, which meant that ultimately we would have caused ourselves a little bit of a problem on that one, because they don't need to sell El Khannouss anymore. What I think is potentially going to happen now is we've seen that the Buonanotte thing isn't going to happen, which is a little bit of a shame, because I really would have liked Buonanotte to happen, but then again, you can't really outfight Chelsea when it comes to transfer pull. But lose out on Buonanotte, you say, okay, very quick pivot, throw a bit of money at El Khannouss. So I hope we do get at least one of these two across the line. I think potentially both, depending on what we want to get done. But on this one, Connor, where are you? Here, there we go. Why does it take ages for deals to get done for Leeds? Most other clubs get the deals. No, they don't. The reason that it looks like that is because for us, Leeds United are under this microscope. Leeds are the thing that we are focusing on. In the same way that, let's think of a way to put it. I'll do a quick search. So, over the past few years, if you're looking at various conflicts that are going on in the world, I am absolutely certain that you could list the one that's happening in the Middle East, that I think if I say it, YouTube gets angry at me, and the one that's happening in Eastern Europe, which I think if I say it, YouTube gets angry at me. Because you've got a microscope on those places, and you could probably tell me more about those than goes on in the world. However, if you look beyond that, there is also various conflict in Myanmar, across Africa. Like, Africa's just very civil war-y at the moment. A little bit more going on in Syria, a little bit in Somalia, a little bit in Yemen. We're not looking at that because that's not where our attention is. And it's the similar thing for transfer news and stuff. You don't notice that other clubs also have all of these problems. It's just that's not the news that we're paying that much attention to because we're Leeds United fans. That's the difference. For me, at least. Hamer on a right wing would be the proper allocation of our remaining funds. Would 25 million get back? Well, I don't know. I don't think so. I think back was rough price was about 35. But I don't know. If we get totally runs tomorrow's Farke out, no, I don't think so. I think that's very, very much jumping the gun. That's jumping the gun stupid fast. Sunderland move quickly. Yeah. There are also moves that they've struggled with, though. We're not the only ones that have missed out on some of our players. Who drops out the midfield for Hamer? Our stack. Neither do we stay with our starting 11. No, so why are we getting squad players and not improving the starting lineup? I don't... What? Who? Okay, whatever. It's situational. Hamer is a different player to Tanaka, is a different player to Ampadu, is a different player to Gruev, is a different player to Longstaff. You use them in different scenarios. You use them when it is right to use those players. So you can then play to your squad's strengths rather than, oh shit, we've only got 3 players, example, right now. Let's do Gruev, Longstaff, Stack, because that's who's fit. It gets you away from that, and it says, right, okay, so we might need to play a little bit more defensively. Let's go Stack alongside Tanaka. It controls the midfield a little bit more. Or if it comes to it, right, okay, this is a side that we can attack. Let's go Hamer and Stack in front of Ampadu, and Ampadu will hold the back line and the wingers can bomb on a little bit. It gives you a little bit more flexibility. That's it. Shah's okay to play, that's annoying. Tonali pain injection just swelling 90% to play. Ugh. And then they are not getting a Voltamad in time, which is quite good. Hamer and El Khannouss would both make sense. I think so. Just a question of would both also at the same time make sense. Get rid of Grovy's shit. I think that's incredibly harsh to a player that played a pretty damn big role in us going up. And that we've seen a grand total of once at Premier League level. I think we're jumping to conclusions far too quickly on a lot of these players, and we're far too willing to throw Leeds United players who've done a decent job for the club under the bus. And it's genuinely a little bit of a shame, because we're doing it far too fast, and it's exhausting. We're allowed to like our players. Like, I know we don't want to a lot of the time, apparently, but we're allowed. Very weird, by the way, but I don't think, at least as far as I've seen, Harry Gray is in any of the England youth teams. At least not as high as under 18s. But he's definitely that good. No, okay, that's genuinely insane to me that they're just leaving him out, but okay. Team needs time to gel. That's another one that I think a lot of people aren't accepting. It takes a good while. Just came in and you probably explained already, but who's the BEK guy? Bilal El Khannouss, who is the Leicester player that we were linked with for a good while earlier in the window. I'll bring up his FBref for you. Bilal El Khannouss, who is a Moroccan midfielder / attacking midfielder / occasionally plays out on the wide areas. His numbers last season were not fantastic, but that is significantly based on the fact that he was playing for a side that got relegated very, very firmly. That was a guy named BEK. No, it's just a shortening of El Khannouss. It's quite tough to fit Bilal El Khannouss or El Khannouss into a 100 character title just because it's very much squeezed. How much do you think we have to spend? In terms of getting Hamer and El Khannouss, I think you're talking about 50 million. Which is a lot. It's a hell of a lot. But I was in the same place as you, Black Badge. However, I'm done. I'm so tired. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Regardless, I'm gonna be in a position of backing the players that are at Leeds after the window is done. For now, though, I've got my opinion on who I think those players should be. And I'm not that convinced on any of them being Gus Hamer. But, okay, Sarah, what'll be, will be. We're not going to Wembley, probably. Kesra. Still think we need Bilal El Khannouss backward and Dermot Demirovic. I think that's pushing it a bit. I think we get maybe 2, maybe 1. In terms of squad, it's a confusing one, so I'm going to bring up the Canva doc again. So, squad depth, looking at the chart that we had recently. I go F11, and then burn the special young Buonanotte corner because that doesn't really matter anymore. I'll assume that you are staying. Cool. So, go over to monitor 2. This is the squad registration. You get 25 slots. These are 25 players. We've got one slot that is definitely open. That is the one that Ramazani left. We then have no other clear spots of availability other than potentially Cairns. Because you don't have a number of goalkeepers that you need to register. Which I thought was quite interesting, because I thought you had to do 3. But, if you don't have to do 3, just get in Alex Cairns. DCL's an available swap. No, he's not. DCL is almost definitely staying and needed registering as a player. So I think there's a chance we don't register Alex Cairns and instead go Rory Mahady and have Cairns as a sort of presence kind of guy. Under 18's keeper doesn't count to him. He's not here in the first place. We can sign an under 21 and don't have to register him. Yeah, that's true. But then we need to find an under-21 that is good enough that doesn't get screamed at by the fan base. Because what the fan base like to do is shout, "We need someone that can start now," rather than like giving it a little bit of time. But I think if Kern stays, it's in a coachy capacity, but he's the person that we can potentially shift out of everyone. Just do Perry and Darlow. Where's Melly? Am I missing him? Or we don't need to include. It's you basically get to register who you are going to play. Like, for example, even if Darko JB doesn't leave, we don't need to register him because he's not going to be in a matchday squad. You won't. The only reason you would register a person is if they're going to be part of matchday squads. Ilham Melier, in my opinion, will not be a part of any matchday squads, therefore isn't on this list. In the same way that earlier in the window, I didn't have Bamford on this list, didn't have Greenwood, didn't have JB, anyone that was leaving. Telly, you gotta take a second, my guy. You've got to hyper focus there, and I think don't use the one spot for Hamer and BEK as under 21. Is he? I'll see if he fits. Bilal El Khannouss. I think you need to have been born in 2000. Ooh. One second. Let's have a check. Just to make sure. I just copy that and I just paste that. Yeah, let's do El Khannouss like now, because that makes things so much easier. Right, okay, this is the weird thing, right? And this is not specifically calling you out, Paul, but I think you are being the perfect example right now. So I'm going to have to address it. Harrison 100% staying. I think so. I think the reason that Ramazani is the one that went is because Harrison couldn't. There wasn't any interest in Jack Harrison. So time to go, 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 whoa. Fuck off. Which leaves us with, as the left wing options, Harrison and why is that going that way? There we go. Leaves us with the left wing options of Okafor and Harrison and Nonto, which is fine enough for me. I try asking you football. I replied to a non-football thing earlier on. No, I replied to a football thing earlier on. Sorry, not a non-football thing. But on what Paul said. Oh, where is he? I don't know. He's out of this list now. But on the Uche thing, I find it really, really interesting that the percentage of people that will have actually seen Chrysanthus Uche play a football match compared to the percentage of people saying that Leeds immediately need to sign him, that is a weird Venn diagram that feels like it's two circles that don't connect to each other. He's a good player, sure, but he's not the only player. So I think if people are looking at the situation and going, we needed to sign Uche, if we've not signed Uche, we're going down, it feels a bit off. Hamer wins free kicks and he's decent in the Premier with Sheffield and finally have a good set piece take it. The set pieces aspect is a big win, I think. I got to agree with that. Just because like having Stack in the box for corners is going to be worth a couple of goals a season. Uche's agent wanted 120k a week for Uche and an agent fee of 5 million. Oh my god. Mitrovic. I have had a fairly solid opinion on Mitrovic that hasn't changed. That is, yeah, he had a decent Premier League season and he had decent seasons in the Championship. That doesn't mean that you can do it consistently. That doesn't mean that you can do it now because he's had 2 seasons in Saudi Arabia rather than in the UK or at a decent level. And that doesn't strictly mean that he's going to be reliable. So for me, I'm going to say probably not on Mitrovic. That one would be a little bit of a risk. And it's very expensive. And as far as I have seen from a few different directions, he's a bit of a knobhead. So I'm going to say probably not Alexander Mitrovic. I like the idea, but no. Harrison, long contract, nobody wants to play him, might get the next transfer window. Yeah, I think if we keep him around, he plays a couple of games, that's a reasonable shop window for him, I suppose. And also, if you haven't yet, please put a like on the stream. Haha. I didn't even try and smoothly segue into that, I just went for it. And also subscribe and all that kind of stuff. Where's the money gone from the Mooners and Pie Show deal? What do you mean, where's the money's not gone anywhere, I don't think. The money still exists. I don't quite understand why people are saying it doesn't. Had any news on the 49ers selling? I saw that there was a leaked investor letter, but I didn't see that there was any actual reality behind it. So I'm going to actually get some form of shape and structure and confirmation on it before reporting what I think isn't a thing. What do you think of Spurtsean? I think he's a decent player. I don't think he's coming. Who says we're front runners for BEK? So you know the Leicester City side source, Fossey Hub, who admittedly is occasionally wrong. That's fair enough. But he was the guy that broke the James Justin to Leeds thing in the most reliable way when it was happening. And he's basically said, yeah, the same source that told me the James Justin stuff is now telling me El Khannouss to Leeds is looking like the most likely. So that's roughly where I'm going to say is potentially reliable. Ooh.
£10 for your charity as discussed last night. Keep up the good work, bud.
Thank you, Carl. I appreciate that. And thank you, Bryn Jones, who is our Welsh text-to-speech guy. But thank you for the super chat. That's massively appreciated, Carl. But yes, Jetwatch. I don't, surely from Leicester you don't fly. And you definitely don't fly from Sheffield. That's pushing it a little bit. I know footballers are lazy, but come on. I've seen him play Usher's a beast. He's decent, is what I'd say. I don't know if he's Premier League built, is the way I'll put it. No, not Vardy. I think if we would have signed Vardy, we would have been the laughingstock of the world, to be honest with you. Yeah, taxi, Uber, anything. But it won't be a flight. 49ers want to expand the stadium, improve the team, raise the value, and sell in 35 years. I have no immediate plans to sell and want to double our investment first. This is why when people were saying that, like, 49ers are just asset stripping and they're taking money out of the club. No, they're not, because they wouldn't make a profit that way. The only way they make a profit is by improving the value of their investment. And the only way that they do that is by improving the club. Leicester don't have to sell. I know they don't have to. Which is why we'll probably be paying a quite significant sum of money. I would assume it'll be in the £30 to £35 million territory. But we'll find out, which is the kind of spooky bit. On the Palace thing, they ended up going for Jeremy Pino instead, who was a Villarreal winger. He played against Leeds at Elland Road, actually. He was quite good at that. Apparently the new Adidas merch is stupidly overpriced. It comes out on Tuesday. I don't know if I've seen any prices yet, but we'll have to see. But I will let you know in the end. Joey didn't read. What? I did. What? I did. I thought it was going to Palace. Oh, but it collapsed. Yeah. Sorry, I had read and then I unread, and it's been a long day. We get Hamer door shuts. How do you mean door shuts? What door? The taxi door from Sheffield? Maybe. Who knows? But I am tempted by that yellow shirt, I've got to be honest with you. It looks very, very, very nice. It's the one from the DCL announcement, which is quite interesting. Anyway, I'm going to dip in a couple of minutes' time, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take us over to Questions Corner, which is where we don't tend to go for a while now. But if anyone's got any questions or anything, the first 3 questions that people put in the chat, I'll do an answer to. And we'll work something out. Are you ready for the Hammer Time comments? No, I'm genuinely not. As someone that hasn't really been a fan of Lewis Hamilton, I can't do much more Hammer Timing. Are you ready for... I've read that one. Will we stay up? I think yes, because you might as well be confident. Because if you're not confident, why? You're sad. Which is a shame. You don't want to be sad. You want to be happy. Because we're in the world of football. And the world of football is nice. I am going to do a sort of redirect-ish, by the way. Because I'm not going to redirect you over to anywhere in the world of YouTube. But I am in fact, going to ping everyone over to Big Up, where Jer is currently doing his watch-along thing of the under-21s. If it wants to load, I really, really want it to load. There we go. So if we all head over there, and we all start talking about cheese, you might need to make an account before doing so, but that would be absolutely spectacular. So I think we all pop over there, we all say hello. I might pop on there in a few minutes' time. Please pop a like on the stream before you go, and it'll be lovely. And I will see every single one of you later. If you were to pick a manager, who would you pick? Bielsa. Anyway, ta-ra. And go to Big Up. It's the link I'm putting here.